The research vessel broke apart in the upper atmosphere with a sound like thunder. Dr. Lisa watched the explosion happen in slow motion through the viewport of her escape pod. Fire and metal scattered across the dark sky as the ship died. She had maybe 3 seconds to activate the emergency eject system before the whole thing went down. Lisa's hands moved on their own. Training took over. She punched the red button. The pod shot away from the dying ship and hurtled toward the frozen planet below. Through the small window, she saw clouds of ice and snow swirling below. The pod rocked and shook as it entered the atmosphere. Alarms blared inside the tight metal space. Red warning lights flashed on and off, on and off. The landing was hard. Lisa's body jerked forward against the restraints even though the pod had shock absorbers. She hit her head on the metal wall. Pain shot through her skull. Stars exploded in her vision. When the spinning stopped, Lisa realized she was still alive. That was something. She waited for the pod to settle. The vibrations stopped. The alarms went quiet. Everything became still. Lisa unstrapped herself and stood up on shaking legs. She checked her body for broken bones. Her ribs felt bruised. Her head hurt like someone had hit her with a hammer, but nothing was broken. She was lucky. Lisa moved to the external sensors. The readings made her stomach drop. Outside temperature was minus 48 degrees Celsius. The wind speed was 70 kilometers per hour. She was on Prime, the ice world that the Galactic Council said was too hostile for human settlement. They had not been wrong. She looked down at her suit. The damage was bad. A sharp piece of metal from the crash had torn through the thermal layer on her left side. The insulation was shredded. She could see the damage through the tear. Her suit would not keep her warm, not in this cold, not for long. Lisa had maybe 6 hours before the sun set, maybe 8 if she was lucky. After that, the temperature would drop even further. The night cycle on Prime was deadly. Nothing survived outside. She needed shelter. She needed heat. She needed both things fast. She grabbed her emergency kit from the pod. Inside were ration bars, water, a thermal blanket, and a small communication device. She turned on the device. Static. Nothing but white noise. The pod's main communications array had been damaged in the crash. She was not going to call for help with this. She was on her own. Lisa opened the pod door. Cold air hit her like a physical punch. It stole her breath. Her eyes watered. The wind cut through her damaged suit and bit into her skin. She could feel the cold already seeping in. She zipped the thermal blanket around herself and ventured out into the frozen world. The landscape was white and dead. Ice stretched out in every direction. Large crystal formations jutted up from the ground like teeth. In the distance, she could see mountains made of solid ice. Everything was quiet. Nothing moved. Nothing lived out here. The Galactic Council was right. This world was deadly. Lisa spotted a large crystal cave formation about 100 meters away. It was better than nothing. Better than standing here freezing in the open. She walked toward it, her boots crunching on the ice. The wind was so cold that each breath hurt her lungs. Her face went numb within minutes. The cave entrance was dark and deep. She could see that it went down into the ground. It would be colder than outside, but at least it would block the wind. She went inside, moving slowly, letting her eyes adjust to the darkness. The walls glowed faintly with an inner light. The ice itself seemed to generate a pale blue glow. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. Lisa found a spot deeper inside the cave where the walls were thick. She sat down on her thermal blanket. She pulled it tight around her body. The cold was already making her hands shake. She had eaten 1 ration bar. She drank a little water. She tried to stop shaking. The sun was getting lower. The light coming through the cave entrance was turning orange. The shadows were growing longer. Lisa knew what was coming. The sun would set. The temperature would drop. And she would sit here in the dark, getting colder and colder, waiting for either rescue or death. She thought about her team back at the station. They would have noticed the communication failure by now. They would have sent rescue teams. But how long would it take them to find her? How long could she survive out here? The sun touched the horizon. The sky turned red and purple. The cold intensified. Lisa could feel it even inside the cave. She wrapped herself in the thermal blanket. She was shaking badly now, not from fear, from cold. The kind of cold that made your body stop working. Hours passed. The cave became completely dark. Lisa sat in the blackness and tried to keep her mind sharp. Hypothermia was the enemy. She had learned about it in survival training. Your body shut down in stages. First confusion, then drowsiness, then nothing. She had to stay awake. She had to stay alert. But the cold was winning. Her thoughts became fuzzy. Her eyelids were heavy. The darkness pressed in on her from all sides. She kept thinking about hot coffee, about warm blankets, about sunlight on her face. Lisa must have dozed off because she jolted awake suddenly. She did not remember closing her eyes. She was colder now, so much colder. Her hands had no feeling at all. She could barely move her fingers. She had maybe 1 or 2 hours left before the cold would take her. She could feel it happening. She could feel her body shutting down. She mumbled words into the darkness. Her own voice sounded strange, slurred, not like her voice at all. "I am so cold," she whispered. "So cold." She said it again and again, like a prayer or a curse. She wrapped the thermal blanket and curled into a ball on the cave floor. The cold sank deeper into her bones. Her thoughts scattered. She was not sure what was real anymore. She felt like she was floating, like she was disappearing into the darkness. Maybe this was how it ended. Alone on a frozen planet, talking to yourself in the dark, Lisa woke up. She did not remember falling asleep, but she had. She was warm. That was the first thing she noticed. She was warm. Her body was not shaking anymore. The cold was gone. She did not understand. She opened her eyes slowly. In the darkness, she could see nothing at first. Then she realized the cave was not completely dark anymore. Some kind of light was coming from outside. It was morning. The sun had risen. She had survived the night. But that was not what made her realize something had changed. She could feel something pressing against her. Something warm and heavy, something alive. Lisa's heart started beating faster. She was afraid. She tried to move, but she could not. There was too much weight on top of her. She was pinned. She started to panic. What was on her? What had found her in the night? She turned her head carefully. In the weak morning light, she could see fur, brown fur, thick and warm. She could see one dark eye looking down at her with curiosity and something else, something that looked like concern. Lisa held her breath. She did not move. She did not know if this was real or if the cold had broken her mind. But the fur was definitely real. She could feel it against her skin. She could feel warmth radiating from whatever this creature was. She slowly lifted her head just a little bit. There was not just one creature on top of her. There were many. The weight across her chest and shoulders and legs belonged to dozens of beings. Brown, furry creatures, each about the size of a large dog, all pressed against her body, all sharing their warmth with her. Lisa counted at least 30 of them visible around her, maybe more in the darkness deeper in the cave. They were piled on top of her like a living blanket, like they had deliberately positioned themselves to keep her warm through the night, which was impossible, which was crazy, which was also the only reason she was still alive. The creature closest to her face made a soft sound, a kind of purr mixed with a low hum. It was not threatening. It sounded gentle. The creature's dark eye blinked slowly at her. Then very deliberately it pressed its head against her chest, right over her heart. Other creatures began to move. They shifted their weight but did not leave. They adjusted their positions to be more comfortable. One of them licked her face. Its tongue was warm and wet. Another one made that same purring sound. Soon the entire pile of creatures was humming and purring around her. Lisa realized she was crying. She did not know when she had started. Tears ran down her face. These things, whatever they were, had saved her life. They had found her in the cave, and they had kept her warm through the deadly night. She did not understand why. She did not understand how they had found her. But she understood that she was alive because of them. She lay still and let them keep her warm. The cave was filled with the sound of their purring. It was the most beautiful sound she had ever heard. Hours passed. The morning light grew brighter. Lisa did not move. She was afraid to disturb the creatures, afraid they would leave if she scared them. Some of them dozed off. Their bodies went limp against her. Others stayed alert, their eyes open, watching her face. Then something changed. A shadow fell across the cave entrance. Something very large was moving outside. Lisa's heart jumped. One of the creatures on top of her lifted its head sharply. A low warning sound came from its throat, not a purr, not gentle, a sound that meant danger or alert. All of the creatures suddenly became still. They did not move, but they tensed their muscles. Lisa could feel them ready to move fast if they needed to. Outside the cave, something big was approaching. A head appeared at the cave entrance. It was massive. The creature was at least 3 meters tall, maybe more. It had the same brown fur as the smaller creatures, but this one looked powerful, dangerous. Muscle rippled under its fur. Its claws were long and sharp. Its teeth showed when it opened its mouth to growl. Lisa's mouth went dry. This had to be the mother. The massive creature stared into the cave, and its eyes found Lisa immediately. The creature tilted its head. Its growl stopped. For a long moment, nothing moved, nothing breathed. Then the large creature did something unexpected. It placed something on the ground at the cave entrance. Lisa could not see what it was from her position under the pile of cubs. The massive creature did not come into the cave. It did not approach. It just left whatever it had brought and walked away, its large shape disappearing into the white landscape outside. The cubs remained alert for several more minutes. Then slowly they relaxed. They went back to 2 days passed in the cave. Lisa stayed where she was most of the time, letting the cubs keep her warm. During the day, when the sun was high, she would venture outside for short periods. The cubs would follow her, staying close, watching her with their dark eyes. They seemed worried when she went too far away. They kept their distance but never let her out of their sight. On the morning of the 3rd day, Lisa discovered what the mother had left at the cave entrance. It was wrapped in something that looked like plant material, though Lisa could not identify the plant. Inside was meat, fresh meat, hunted recently. The mother had left food for her. Lisa examined it carefully. She had survival training. She knew how to test for toxins. She cut a small piece and tasted it carefully. She waited an hour, no sickness, no burning, no pain. The meat was safe, more than safe. It was nourishment, real food, better than the ration bars that tasted like cardboard. She cooked the meat using friction and dry material she found in the cave. The cubs watched her with interest. One of them came very close and sniffed the cooked meat. Then it made a low sound, almost like approval. Lisa shared the meat with them. They ate carefully, never grabbing or pushing. They were patient, polite, nothing like the descriptions she had read in the Galactic Council databases. By the 2nd day, Lisa had begun to understand some of their behavior patterns. The cubs had a hierarchy, but it was based on protection, not dominance. The larger cubs made sure the smaller ones got enough food. They did not eat first. They shared. Lisa watched this play out dozens of times. She took careful notes in her small research journal. The cubs were also incredibly intelligent. They could open containers. They could dig. They could work together to move heavy objects. One of them had figured out how to bring water into the cave by making channels in the ice. The water flowed down from a higher point and pooled in a depression that Lisa could drink from. This was not instinct. This was problem-solving. By the 3rd day, Lisa had begun trying to communicate with them. She made soft sounds. The cubs responded with their own sounds. She learned that different sounds meant different things. A high chirp meant warning or alert. A low purr meant contentment or safety. A specific rumbling sound seemed to mean something like "come here" or "follow me." One of the cubs seemed more interested in communicating than the others. It was slightly smaller and had a small white mark on its chest. Lisa called it Spot in her mind. Spot would make sounds at her and wait for her to respond. When she did, Spot would react with obvious excitement, jumping and making happy chirping sounds. On the afternoon of the 3rd day, the mother appeared again at the cave entrance. This time she did not leave food and walk away. This time she came inside. She was massive in the cave. Her head nearly touched the ceiling. Her shoulders were so wide that they almost brushed both walls. She could have killed Lisa with one swipe of her paw. Lisa froze. The cubs all moved to surround her protectively. The smaller ones pressed against her legs. Spot positioned himself between Lisa and the mother. The larger cubs formed a barrier with their bodies. They were protecting her from their own mother. The mother made a series of low sounds. The cubs responded with similar sounds. It was like a conversation. They were talking to each other. Lisa could not understand the words, but she could understand the emotion. The mother was not angry. She was not a threat. She was asking questions. After several minutes of these sounds, the mother stepped closer to Lisa. The cubs did not move. They did not try to stop her. She lowered her massive head until her face was level with Lisa's face. She sniffed. She made a low humming sound. Lisa did not move. She did not run. She did not scream. She held perfectly still and met the mother's gaze. In those dark eyes, she saw what the Galactic Council had missed. She saw intelligence. She saw compassion. She saw a being who understood suffering and chose to help instead of kill. The mother hummed once more. Then she turned and walked back to the cave entrance. She lay down on her belly just outside, blocking the entrance. She was standing guard. She was protecting them from whatever dangers might come in the night. Lisa realized the truth then. The Galactic Council had classified these creatures as primitive and dangerous. The Council said they were not intelligent enough for contact. The Council said they were animals. The Council had been completely, catastrophically wrong. These creatures were not animals. They were a civilization. They had families. They had rules. They had compassion. They recognized suffering in another being and chose to help. That made them intelligent. That made them worthy. That made them everything the Council said they were not. Lisa sat down in the cave and began to cry again. But this time, the tears were not from cold or fear, they were from understanding. She had crashed on this world expecting to die alone. Instead, she had found something the Galactic Council had been too blind to see. She had found goodness, real goodness, pure and simple and absolutely real. The cubs pressed against her, their warm bodies surrounding her once more. Spot made his chirping sound and rubbed his head against her chest. In that moment, Lisa made a decision. She was going to change everything. The Galactic Council was going to know what she knew. These creatures were not a threat. They were proof that intelligence and kindness could exist together. They were proof that compassion transcended species boundaries. As the sun set and darkness fell, Lisa sat in the cave surrounded by warmth and life. She listened to the cubs purr. She listened to the mother hum outside. She thought about how to tell the world what she had learned. She thought about how to make the council listen. For the first time since the crash, Lisa felt hope. The rescue team arrived on the morning of the 5th day. Lisa heard their ship before she saw it. The roar of the engines echoed across the ice plains. The cubs immediately became alert. The mother stood up outside the cave and made a loud warning sound. The cubs responded, gathering closer to Lisa, their protective instinct kicking in. Lisa moved to the cave entrance. She could see the transport ship descending through the clouds. It was marked with the seal of the research station. Her people. They had found her. The ship landed about 200 meters away from the cave. The dust from the landing settled. Lisa could see figures moving around the ship. A ramp lowered. People started walking toward the cave. The mother made another warning sound. It was louder this time, more aggressive. The cubs pressed against Lisa's legs. They were afraid. They did not understand what was happening. They only knew that something dangerous was approaching. Lisa put her hands up. She spoke softly. She made the same low humming sounds she had learned from the cubs. The mother's ears turned toward her. The warning sound stopped. Lisa repeated the sounds. She tried to communicate calm, safety. This is okay. The rescue team was getting closer. Lisa could see their faces now. Commander was at the front. He was a tall man with gray in his hair. He was carrying an assault rifle. Behind him came more soldiers, all armed, all moving with combat readiness. Commander saw the cave. He saw the mother standing guard. He saw the cubs gathered around Lisa. His hand went to the trigger of his rifle. His soldiers did the same. Weapons were raised. Fingers moved to triggers. This was exactly what the Galactic Council feared. A human surrounded by aliens. A human in danger. Lisa stepped forward. She did not think. She just moved. She put herself between the commander and the mother. She raised her hands. "Do not shoot," Lisa said. "Do not shoot. These creatures saved my life." Commander stopped. He lowered his rifle slightly. "Doctor, are you hurt? Are you being held?" "No," Lisa said. "Listen to me. These creatures found me the first night. I was dying from hypothermia. They kept me warm. The mother brought me food. They protected me. They are intelligent, Commander. They are intelligent and they are good." Commander stepped closer. He was studying the creatures now instead of treating them as threats. His soldiers kept their weapons raised, but they were waiting for his orders. "Stand clear," said. "We need to extract you safely." "I am not coming," Lisa said. "Not until you understand what is happening here." "Stopped, excuse me." "I am not leaving," Lisa repeated. "These creatures saved my life. The Galactic Council is wrong about them. They are not dangerous. They are not primitive. They are people, Commander, real people. They deserve protection. They deserve recognition." Spot came to stand beside Lisa. The small cub pressed against her leg. The mother made a low, gentle sound, not a threat, something else, something that sounded like affection. Stared at the scene. A human woman standing between two alien creatures, and neither party was attacking or threatening the other. It did not fit anything in the military manual. It did not match any of the briefings. It was something new. "Lower your weapons," said to his soldiers. "Do not shoot unless they attack." The soldiers hesitated. This was not the order they expected, but they followed it. Weapons were lowered slightly, still ready but not pointing directly at the creatures anymore. Walked forward slowly. He approached Lisa but stopped 5 meters away from the mother. He looked at the directly. The mother looked at him. They stood like that for a long moment. Predator and human, potential threat and soldier. "I need to file a report about this," said. He turned to Lisa. "The council is going to want to know everything, every detail. This could change policies across the entire galaxy." "I know," Lisa said, "and I will tell them everything, but I will not leave without these creatures knowing they are safe. I will not abandon them. Nodded slowly. Okay, we can do this. Come with me, but your friends can come too. We will bring them back to the station. You can work with them there. You can be their advocate. But first, we need to get you to medical. You look like hell, doctor. Lisa smiled. For the first time since the crash, she smiled. I would like that, Commander, thank you. The mother made no move to leave the cave. Spot stayed close to Lisa. The other cubs remained still. Lisa reached down and scratched behind Spot's ears. The cub made his happy chirping sound. Come on, Lisa said gently to the mother. It is safe. These are my people. They will not hurt you, I promise. The mother studied the commander and his soldiers for a long moment. Then she made a decision. She stood and began to walk. The cubs followed her. They walked toward the rescue team. This was the moment that could have gone wrong. This was where everything could have changed to violence and fear. But Commander kept his soldiers calm. He kept his weapon lowered. He watched as they approached. When the mother came close, he stepped back slightly, giving her space. It was a sign of respect. A sign that he understood something important had changed. 3 months later, Lisa stood on the observation deck of the new diplomatic station on Prime. The station was small, built to house researchers and diplomats, not soldiers. The Galactic Council had finally revised its classification of the people. They were no longer listed as primitive or dangerous. They were recognized as an intelligent species worthy of first contact and trade agreements. The process had not been easy. The Council had resisted. Some officials claimed Lisa was biased because she had been rescued by the creatures. Some called her crazy. Some said she was lying to protect her career after a failed mission. But Commander had backed her up with his official report. He had presented the evidence to the Council. He had spoken about seeing genuine intelligence and compassion in the creature's eyes. Slowly, carefully, the Council had begun to listen. The first contact had been organized carefully. Leaders met with human representatives. They established basic communication protocols. They shared information about their species and their history. They discussed what kind of relationship would benefit both peoples. They told the story of their rescue of Lisa. They explained that their people had learned long ago that compassion was more valuable than weapons. They explained that they recognized a fellow thinking being in danger and chose to help. They said it was the right thing to do. Lisa had been appointed as the lead for the mission. She spent her days studying culture, learning their language, documenting their society. She spent her evenings with Spot and the other cubs and the mother that had saved her life. The mother had been given a name by the human researchers. They called her. It seemed to please her. She would respond to the name and make her gentle humming sound. Spot had grown since the rescue. He was larger now, though still much smaller than his mother. His white-marked chest had become a distinctive feature that humans used to identify him. Lisa scratched behind's ears the way she had learned. The massive closed her eyes and hummed contentedly. It was a moment of peace in a day filled with work and responsibility. It was a moment of friendship between two different species who had learned to trust each other. Spot approached and pushed his head under Lisa's other hand. She scratched his ears too. The two made their purring sounds. This was their greeting now. This was how they said hello. Doctor, a voice called from the other side of the room. It was. He had been promoted to station commander. He supervised all contact between humans and... Yes, Commander, Lisa said. The Council has approved the first cultural exchange program, said. 20 students will come to our universities. 20 human students will come to study with teachers. They want you to oversee the process. Lisa felt tears prick her eyes. Not sad tears, happy tears. This was everything she had wanted. This was proof that the galaxy could change. This was proof that compassion could bridge any gap. When do we start? She asked. Next month, said. It will be the most important educational program in the history of the Galactic Alliance. No pressure. Lisa laughed. We will make it work. They are brilliant. Your students will be amazed. Turned to leave, then stopped. You know, I still do not fully understand why I chose to help you that first night. Most species would have left a stranger to die. Lisa looked at. The mother's dark eyes met hers. Because she could see I was suffering. Because she could see I was thinking and feeling. Because she understood that intelligence and compassion go together. That is what most species forget, Commander. We forget that the mark of a real civilization is not how much power you have. It is how you treat the beings who cannot help you. Nodded slowly. The Council is finally beginning to understand that too. Over the following weeks, Lisa watched as humans and began to work together. Engineers from both species collaborated on building better shelter for the community. Scientists shared research. Artists began to exchange cultural works. Musicians from both species started to experiment with creating art together. They taught humans about their history. They explained that they had developed their peaceful philosophy thousands of years ago, after learning that conquest and violence only created more suffering. They chose instead to focus on building harmony with their environment and with each other. The humans taught about galactic technology and science. They shared information about space travel and medicine and countless other fields. The exchange went both ways. Both species learned from each other. Spot grew stronger and more confident with each passing week. He spent time with both his own kind and with the human researchers. He became an ambassador without meaning to be one. His presence proved that cross-species friendships were possible. His happiness proved that trust could be built between any two thinking beings. One evening, Lisa sat outside the station with Spot. The sky was full of stars. On one of those stars was Earth. On another was the Galactic Council headquarters. In this moment, looking up at the cosmos with two aliens who had become her family, Lisa thought about how fragile everything had been. If the crash had killed her, this would never have happened. If had decided to let her freeze, this would never have happened. If Commander had ordered his soldiers to shoot, this would never have happened. If Lisa had not chosen to trust instead of fear, this would never have happened. But none of those things had happened. They had all chosen differently. They had all chosen compassion. They had all chosen to see the best in the other. "Thank you," Lisa said quietly too. She was not sure they understood human language well enough to know what the words meant, but made a low humming sound and leaned her massive head against Lisa's shoulder. Spot curled up at Lisa's feet. In the darkness, under the stars of an alien sky, Lisa understood something fundamental. This was what the galaxy needed. This was what could change everything. Not weapons or conquest or fear, but compassion. The simple choice to see suffering and choose to help. The simple choice to recognize thinking, feeling beings and treat them with respect. They had shown humanity something important. They had shown them that strength was not measured in power. Strength was measured in the courage to help a stranger. Strength was measured in the willingness to risk everything for compassion. And humanity, for the first time, was beginning to understand. The stars shone overhead, indifferent to the small moment of connection happening below. But in this small moment, on this small frozen world, something important was changing. Something that would echo across the galaxy for generations to come. All because a woman chose to see goodness instead of threat. All because aliens chose compassion instead of fear. All because, on a cold night on an ice planet, 50 cubs decided that a freezing stranger deserved to live. The mother passed him and continued toward the transport ship. The cubs followed. Spot looked back at Lisa as if making sure she was coming too. Lisa followed them all. In that moment, standing on an ice planet millions of kilometers from home, the first real contact between humanity and the people began. Not with weapons or demands, but with rescue and rescue team, and a decision to see each other as beings worthy of protection instead of fear. As the group walked toward the transport ship, Lisa thought about how one person's choice to see compassion instead of threat could change everything. She thought about how close they had all come to violence that morning. She thought about how easily everything could have been different. But it was not different. The mother was safe. The cubs were safe. Humanity would finally know the truth about Prime. Their quiet purring. One of them got up and walked to the cave entrance. It sniffed at what the mother had left. Lisa could not see what it was, but the cub came back to her and made a soft chirping sound, almost like it was telling her something important. Lisa's mind raced with questions. Where was she? What were these creatures? Why did they care whether she lived or died? She was a stranger, a different species, a human from a different world. None of that should matter to these creatures, but somehow it did. She looked at the dark eyes watching her face. She saw intelligence there, real intelligence, not animal instinct. These creatures were thinking, they were choosing to help her. Why? Lisa did not have the answer, but she knew one thing for certain. The Galactic Council had been wrong about Prime. They had been very, very wrong. Lisa closed her eyes. She was too tired to keep them open anymore. The cold wrapped around her like invisible hands, pulling her down, down, down into sleep.